All right, we're going to get started here with the last discussion of the afternoon. Welcome. I'm going to let everybody get seated. I have quite a few announcements to make here, so I wanted to get started a little early. And then we're going to get you out of here on time because I know everybody is going to want to go to the after party. Let's see here. All right. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. So hopefully you all are using the AWE Live app. If you haven't downloaded the app yet, you can build your agenda for tomorrow, find out where the events are, and then there is this leaderboard thing where last time I checked, there was Daniel Coe was way in the lead. I don't know exactly what he's doing to do that, but anyway, get on the app and get in the lead. So welcome reception is tonight. All participants, make sure you have your wristband and your badge. That's tonight in the Santa Clara Ballroom at the second floor. And tomorrow is the Augie Awards. You don't want to miss that. There's 15 breakthrough categories, 3 best in show categories. And after that, there is another after party to follow. So there's a lot going on with happy hours, after parties, Augies. So I think there's 4 things on the agenda. All of these are being recorded. They'll be made available for all attendees afterwards. So that's this amazing crew back there doing all the recordings and making sure that other people can catch what's happened here today. Okay, the expo hall opens tomorrow, so you want to get in there and check out all the great booths and vendors. I personally love walking the show and getting a coffee and seeing what's going on, and there'll be probably tons of demos and cool things happening. So that's tomorrow from 10 to 3. Be sure to check it out. And then I just want to take one last time to say thank you to our sponsors, our gold sponsors. Thank you so much for your support. Arbor XR, Care AR, a Xerox company, HP, Metamaterials, and Plug XR. And for our titanium sponsors, that's Niantic, Qualcomm, and Unity Technologies. We're going to get started right here with Brian, and then we will have a few minutes for a Q&A at the end. So today, Brian is going to be talking to us about mixed reality in the defense space. Inspired by science fiction films, Brian is looking to create a world showered in augmented reality. With Vermeer, he is building a mixed reality interface to control drones, robots, satellites, and more. He is self-labeled growth hacker, accused hustler, and bona fide DoD contractor. While participating in the AF Ventures and Techstars program, Brian learned about government contracts, and in 8 months, he was able to receive 7 government contracts. Good job. Welcome, Brian.
Cool, thank you. Thanks. Thank you for everyone for coming. It's nice to see people here. I was wondering if anyone would show. So again, my name is Brian Streem. I have a company called Vermeer, and essentially what we do is we build. We're kind of using virtual reality and augmented reality to visualize and command and control robots. I'm going to spend some time talking about kind of what my company does, but I kind of also just want to talk about my, experience working in defense. Do people here work in defense or people thinking about working in defense? Okay. So sorry, I asked the questions too close together and I couldn't tell hands. Who's thinking about working in defense? Okay, so most people here work in defense. Is that correct? Okay, so I kind of also want to just tell a little bit about my journey of how I got into the DoD, which happened only 2 years ago, and we've had a ton of success doing it. So a little bit about us. So I actually started this company about 6 or 7 years ago. So we started in a very different place than where we are today. We actually started as a drone service cinematography company. So the way to think about what we did was anytime if you've seen an HBO or a Netflix movie or TV show and there was a drone shot in it, it was actually a very good chance that my company was executing those drone missions. So we did Spielberg movies and we did Fast and the Furious movies and we did Oscar-winning Best Picture films and things of that nature. And doing all that work, we kind of learned a lot of valuable lessons about operating drones. As you can see here, one of them is that collaboration is key, but doing it is hard, as well as getting the animation to play. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, oftentimes between us and the customer who wanted a drone mission, there'd be 20, 30, 40, 50 shots trying to articulate to us what kind of drone mission they wanted. There was no good way to articulate the drone mission. How do you show it? Oftentimes we would just kind of take these 2D maps and we would draw these, red arrows on top of them, overlays to try to understand, to explain to our drone operators. And then when we got to the field, we would have pretentious people like this doing this thing with their hands, trying to articulate it to confused drone operators. And ultimately, like what we learned, what customers really wanted, they wanted, kind of what Spielberg is doing here. What he's doing with his hands, he's not just kind of like directing the camera, he's running a simulation in his brain of what he envisions the camera doing. And we kind of thought if only we could kind of like take the vision in his brain and pluck it into the real world, we would have like a really cool product. So we decided to build it, and we call it Vermeer. So here's a little demo of how our AR drone software works. So you can see the user is in a holographic environment. There's a blue avatar representing the drone. There's a 3D map of a real-world location in front of him. There's a drone flying outside those windows behind him. And with simple gesture controls in near real time, he's able to move and manipulate the position of the drone. So we built this for Hollywood, and we used it on a couple Hollywood productions to kind of pre-visualize these drone missions. And then the DoD came knocking. So just a little bit of history. It seems like a lot of people know this. So I knew nothing of this. So people had kind of proposed to me in about 2019, oh, Brian, why don't you hit up the DoD? And I mean, my initial reaction, quite frankly, was, what are you talking about? Don't they have like a crashed flying saucer? Like what on earth could they possibly want with this? But what I didn't know was that, essentially since the end of the Cold War, you had like these large prime contractors that were essentially, for lack of a better word, bilking the government. If you want to sit down with a meeting with Lockheed Martin, I'm sorry, is Lockheed Martin here? All right, well, we could talk about them. For an hour meeting and $100 million, you could meet with them. So they were uninnovative, they were slow, and it was a terrible business relationship that the DoD kind of wound themselves up in. And for the last couple decades, that was okay, but times have changed, the world has changed. There's actually kind of world adversaries that we're worried about that are actually innovating very quickly, things like AI, computer vision, drones, all this stuff. So what they did was the DoD over the last 3 or 4 years has essentially had a massive push to find companies doing innovative technology and help inject them into the bloodstream. Do people here know like what Techstars is? Okay, so 2 years ago, so what the DoD did, the DoD was like, we don't know anything about innovation, we don't know how to innovate, we don't even know where these innovative companies go, where they hang out, where they drink coffee. So they hired Techstars to essentially run the DoD's innovation laboratory. It was in Boston. It was like a 5-month in Boston, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. kind of college sort of course. So my company, we got selected to be part of this DoD-funded Techstars program in Boston during 2020, and it was like a wildly kind of transformative experience. The first thing I kind of learned. When I started, they had this thing called Mentor Madness, where like you sit down with people at the DoD, every day, all day for a month or two, and you meet 100 people. Is that these people definitely don't have a crash flying saucer, because if they did, they wouldn't be talking to me, and they wouldn't be kind of blown away by this stuff. And I just saw that there was a massive appetite for kind of what we were doing in all sorts of flavors. So I kind of showed you. The augmented reality drone control. We're also building kind of like a way to visualize the drone data in an augmented reality headset, as you can see here. And then, as you can see in this image, somebody from the Space Force saw what we were doing, and they were like, that's really cool. Will that work on, instead of flying drones, can you fly satellites with it? And I said yes, because saying no sounded really stupid. So we actually won. So in the course, as it was mentioned previously, so in about 8 months, my company won seven contracts with the DoD, 5 of them in what's known Phase 2 SBIRs. Do you guys know SBIRs? So yeah, so we won 5 Phase 2 SBIRs, a couple of OTAs, and an IDIQ for the technology. So there was a thirst and a hunger for this sort of kind of capability that I was quite frankly overwhelmed with. And it's been a very cool, wild ride. For those of you here, you probably know about the IVAS system. It's a $22 billion acquisition where essentially the DoD is trying to ruggedize the HoloLens. There are many myths and fairy tales about where this technology actually is. And I myself don't exactly know. So if anybody knows, find me. So the DoD is putting considerable resources into this sort of technology. General James McInville, the future is here, and it's fundamentally changed the way we do business in the United States. So there are people that I have spoken to who have totally bought in to mixed reality. All soldiers, all warfighters are going to wear some sort of AR headsets. And then I've also spoken to some people who don't think that. Where I sit, I don't know. I really haven't tried the headset on. I hear rumors that it still doesn't work during the daytime, and some rumors that it does. So we'll see how that pans out. And one of the other technologies that we're building that is kind of fundamental, that's been talked about for a while to this sort of capability, is kind of like this mirror world sort of a thing. So it's a vision-based localization method where you could essentially localize video to an existing 3-dimensional map. And that's really critical, especially if you want to put like augmented reality characters or features, into a headset. Other companies that are doing interesting things, I think they're here, Red 6, they essentially have an augmented reality way to generate avatars of planes. We all know about kind of like flight simulators, VR kind of goggles, somebody's flying, a jet in like a virtual world. This is actually a goggle system that's a pilot would wear in an actual aircraft, and it would generate like an avatar, kind of create like an avatar of a dogfight sort of situation. And you could see like this kind of like these avatars on the ground. There's another company, Mojo, and these are all companies that the government has funded to the tunes of millions of dollars. I mean, they funded my company millions of dollars in a very short period of time. So I think Red 6, I think they have like a $30 million contract that they recently won, and this is all public information. If you all these government contracts, I kind of did a total before I came here. I would estimate that there's probably in the last couple years, like 3 to 4 years, like hundreds of millions of dollars been put towards AR and VR or like associated technologies. They funded this company, which is very cool, kind of like AR goggles, but on your eyeball. I don't know if they're here right now. And then there's there's a lot of companies popping up in kind of like the VR sort of scenario training, essentially to train police officers, first responders, domestic disturbance situations. So you could actually run scenarios to essentially help the warfighter react quicker. The problem with all those things from my perspective right now is it's very and I'm sure there are companies trying to solve it, it's very time consuming to kind of generate this sort of content. Yeah, and that is pretty much my talk. I probably have a lot more things to say, but I'm happy to answer questions if there are any questions. Yeah, I think there's a microphone coming to you.
Who's raised their hand? Okay. Oh, you snuck up on me there, Brian.
Within 8 months, you apparently signed up, went through the procurement process, and how does that work for small businesses?
Yeah, so it's a very good question. So I probably so I did very untraditional things to get my contracts. I kind of was aware, quite frankly, in this program in Boston, I was in this Techstars program. It was like a deep dive into defense. And I kind of realized, I'm like, oh, okay, they have a ton of money, they love doing this stuff, and there's tons of customers all over the place. And I kind of have a simple sales philosophy, which is you can't sell something to somebody if they don't know you exist. Like, if they don't know you exist, you're not going to sell it to them. If they know you exist, your odds go from 0 to 1%, and 1% is way better than 0. So there were a couple of retired colonels who had companies that were in my Techstars program, and when I asked them, in order to get one of these contracts, you need like an MOU. You need somebody to like sponsor you, essentially. And when I asked these retired colonels who had lots of experience in defense, I go, how are you going to get an MOU? The answers I got was like, oh, you know, I went to the academy with this 4-star general, and he was going to sign my MOU. I did not. I knew no one. So I essentially, when COVID hit, I launched a massive cold LinkedIn and cold email outreach campaign. And I built a funnel, and I said, hey, here's what we're doing. If you think this is interesting, email me back. And during COVID, I moved to a log cabin by Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire, and I relentlessly cold called, cold emailed, and cold Zoomed anyone who would listen to me. Like for instance, I had suspected we were focused mainly on doing, AR and VR to control drones. And then in my email list, I happened to email someone from the Space Force who said, this might be interesting for what I'm doing with satellites, but I don't want to lead you down a rabbit hole. And I said, no. Tell me about this rabbit hole. And, we won $2 million of contracts because of that rabbit hole. So I was flexible, and I listened closely to the customers. I listened to what they needed. I was creative in how we could utilize, spin our technology to satisfy their problem. Does that answer your question? I built relationships. I literally was in Nashville, Tennessee a couple months ago at a major in SOCOM's retirement party, somebody I just met on LinkedIn. So I just kind of worked the proverbial digital room. And it was hard. It was hard. It's very
Question
hard.
back here in the,
You said that you can't say you don't know a lot about the Microsoft $22 billion contract, but maybe you could say a little more. My understanding is that the hardware that goes into that is a very, very small part of it, that it's first of all, it's a 10-year contract.
Yeah.
And up to $22 billion, but that it's about loading up and down from the cloud to make sort of a video game type. So can you add a little more detail to that? What do you know?
Yeah. So what do I know? I know that it's actually a little strange. I have been I've actually been shocked. I was kind of blown away, quite frankly, that I was going to cold email people and they were going to email me back. I'm like, isn't this like the CIA? Don't these people have badges? I'm like, they're not going to talk to a stranger. So I was surprised that just in general, people spoke to me. The IVAS program is actually one in particular that people seem hesitant to talk about. Bizarrely so. There is even a potential thing I'm working on where we're making a proposal and it would be us involved in that system. And I don't know, he hasn't told me, he's not allowed to tell me. So they're really and you're 100% right, it's up to $22 billion, up to 10 years, they could lose the contract. My understanding is tomorrow, the next day, I think just a few days ago, there was already an extension, or not an extension, a postponement. I don't know the details of that. So the answer is no, I really don't know more other than the rumor mill.
other questions?
Thanks. So it looks like you pitched the government the ability to control satellites with haptics, right? So have you delivered that to them yet?
No, thank you. Next question. No, I mean, it's, we can, the fact of the matter is, we are actually controlling drones with AR right now. I could actually move a drone in augmented in this 3D virtual space. Right now, the AR satellite mission planning tool is actually more of kind of I would call a 3-dimensional chess game for training satellite operators. my government, I guess, partner or customer is discussing with us how we're going to actually link this thing up to a satellite. And quite frankly, that's like beyond, I'm like, what are you kidding me? How are they going to let me do that? But we'll find out maybe if success. But thank you for the question.
We got someone back here.
So you mentioned that right now you can move a drone in the AR space. I'm
Yeah.
just curious how you're doing that. Are you also coupling it with any kind of autonomous algorithm to avoid obstacles and whatnot, or is it purely manual?
I'm sorry, how are we?
How are you using augmented reality to move the drone? Is it simply following the movement that the user defined, or are you
Yeah.
also coupling with obstacle avoidance algorithms?
There's a couple things going on. So essentially the 3D, we're working with a database, Maxar. So Maxar is this billion-dollar publicly traded satellite company. They have this $100 million contract with the DoD for this initiative called One World Terrain. What they do is they take oblique satellite images and they generate highly accurate 3D maps anywhere in the world. DoD is very interested in this because now we have highly accurate 3D maps of Russia, China, North Korea, et cetera. So that map is geo-rectified. Every point in the AR environment is correlated to a GPS point in the real world. We have our own kind of visual positioning system on board the drone, where essentially when the camera of the drone is looking at something, we're referencing this existing 3D map that we have. So we're not just using GPS, we're using like computer vision to more accurately understand where the drone is in three-dimensional space when it's actually flying. So there's a waypoint mode where you kind of like point here, point here, point here, point here. I want to look here, I want to look here, I want to look here. And then there's another mode called the area of interest mode, where essentially you circle a region in the three-dimensional map, and then you say, if in this region you see Osama bin Laden or you see this license plate, then do X, Y, and Z. Follow it, pursue it, hover and stare, etc.
Other questions? All right. More minutes here.
What does your average mail, your LinkedIn mail, cold call mail sound like that you get an answer to?
It's a very good question. So a lot of people ask me, like, I really don't think there's like you want to be like, number one, they only give you 200 characters. So you end up saying things like, spelling contracts like CTS because you don't have the room for it. So you do like weird things like that. I don't think the message really matters. You can't sound desperate, and it's more about, it's a numbers game. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The people who aren't going to respond and screw them. They're not going to help you. The people that really need it are the ones that are going to respond. So you're kind of playing the role of a detective. Like you're just like trying to sift through all these people and find the people who truly care about what you're doing. I give a whole lecture on sales automation, some other point. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Here we go. From LinkedIn emails to.
Hi, so my question was, what kind of steps do you have to take to sort of access these databases? Do you have to do a lot of on-site work with the military, or do they let you access that from like a VPN at all?
Yeah, when you say the databases, you mean like the 3D Earth database?
Yeah, like the Earth databases where you can see North Korea and, you know.
So, very good question. The company, if you contact them, I suspect if you contact them and be like, hi, I'm trying to do this, and I have all this money, the economy is, people have money and people have things to sell. Like, they'll probably sell it to you, I think, okay, if you have enough money. Like, I don't think they're not allowed to give it out. It's a private company, but I could be wrong there. Me, honestly, like I have a relationship with them. They think what I'm doing is cool. I send a guy a text message. I'm like, hey man, I'm like trying to work on a sample of this thing. He's like, all right. Then he works it up and sends it to me. Now I'm being a little glib. The fact of the matter is like when this actually gets, there's still a lot, quite frankly, I've only been doing this for 2 years with the DoD. There's a lot I don't understand still, but there's all sorts of, 2 of my guys have top secrets clearances. I don't. I'm gonna need to get a facility clearance. The way you access data needs to be handled. So I don't know, but there definitely is like a more sophisticated procedure to follow. That's all I could kind of say right now on that.
This is a good time to wrap up.
Okay.
Let's give a
I guess we're
big
wrapping
round
up.
of
Thank you,
applause
everyone.
to Brian Streem. Thank you.